So now, Dominic Monaghan, if you were back home in Manchester about 6 weeks ago, would you have been one of those fans out there railing against the Super League? Would you have done that, Dominic?
Well, I very much protested against the European Super League on my social media channels. Unfortunately, I couldn't get to Manchester because of, the COVID restrictions and requirements. But, yeah, the European Super League would have absolutely destroyed not only English football, but it would have destroyed German, Italian, French, Dutch, all of the football leagues in Europe, as well as the Champions League, the Europa League. It would have destroyed modern-day soccer as we know it. So I was vehemently against it.
So how were you for that 48-hour period where it looked like it was actually going to happen?
I was extremely worried, especially when my team, Manchester United, were kind of at the forefront of talking about it actually happening. It wasn't as if they were saying, we're considering this and we're thinking about it. They just announced this thing is happening, and it took the players by surprise, it took the manager by surprise, and it took all the fans by surprise. So I was deeply worried and concerned. I think aside from actual physical tragedies that have taken place in soccer, like Hillsborough and the Heysel tragedy, this was probably the most seismic piece of news ever in soccer for me.
Well, as you know, spending time in the States, zipping around Los Feliz as you are doing right now, Dominic, all of us Americans, and I appreciate using the word soccer for this audience, but for all the soccer fans here and seeing what was going on in the football world in that regard, it does not compute that fans railing against business interests would actually wind up with the fans winning. It's really confusing to us here in America, Dominic.
I have to admit it started out as a real awful piece of news and then ended up being a hugely positive movement because, as you say, Rich, the fans basically said, we are not going to put up with this. And they protested and they rallied and they made their voice heard, and it completely did a 180 on what the managers wanted to do. So it ended up being a fantastic story. Just to touch upon American sports for a moment, obviously I've lived in Los Angeles now for about 15 years.
Yep.
Big fan of the Lakers. I love the Dodgers. I followed Kevin Garnett for a while because I loved the way that he played, that kind of fall-away jumper that he used to shoot. I'll watch the Super Bowl. I went to the college playoffs for the basketball, the final four. I went to Arizona State University. So any big sporting event, I'm there. And American sports, they really do it well. They put a ribbon on it. They make it big and brash and exciting, and I'm here for it.
What do you mean they put a ribbon on it? What do you mean by that?
They go big. Do you know what I mean? They go big. I love the fact that, in England, we support our teams, but outside of that Saturday, there's not a massive amount going on. We get ready for that Saturday, the game's over, and it's done, and we wait for the next Saturday. But it feels like over here, in the United States, it's more of a big kind of thing. There's big parties and celebrations, and, we don't do that tailgating thing that you guys do. I love that whole tailgating community. It's brilliant.
There's no tailgating in Manchester? None at all?
No, we all drink it. We all drink in the pubs. The pubs are open, so we go to the pubs, get drunk, and then we walk to the stadium.
I'll take one last shot here on this subject matter. Have you seen Ted Lasso? Have you seen any of that, Dominic? Have you seen that?
Yes, I have seen Ted Lasso.
What do you think?
I'm actually friends with the guy called Brett Goldstein, the kind of swarthy-looking, dark, bearded guy who is kind of a good player on the Ted Lasso team. He's a friend of mine. I did his podcast for a couple of times.
How real of a portrayal is Roy Kent? Dominic, how real of a portrayal is that?
It's difficult to kind of encapsulate football or soccer, as you guys call it, on screen in the same way that I think it's been problematic over the years to try and capture what competitive basketball looks like or competitive American football. I will say I think the Friday Night Lights film and TV show was superb, and there's been some other notable mentions, but for the most part, I think it's difficult to capture sport in the moment because it's so frenetic and it's so improvised, Hey,
you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.